All right, hello everybody. This is Heather Newman here, SPC19 community reporter, and get a chance to sit down with Miri Rodriguez.
Hi.
Yes, our wonderful keynote and two keynotes actually.
No, one keynote and a luncheon.
And a luncheon. Yeah. Okay.
But I felt like
we call that a keynote kind of too, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. So we actually our post show. The show is over, and we got a chance to sit down and say hello here today in Prague. So. Thought I'd check in with you. Oh, man, it was so great to see you speak.
It was great to meet you.
Yeah, I know. Same.
I love these conferences for that reason alone.
Yes.
Meeting amazing people, building community. This has been incredible. It really has.
That's awesome.
Great.
Have you been to this show before?
No, this is the first time.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
And I hope it's not my last time.
I don't think so by any long shot at all. That's terrific.
Yeah.
And you have a book coming out.
I do. I have to honest hour. I kept, I don't want to promote it. It's just like that thing.
I'm going to, so there we go.
And I have to say, in the women's lunch, I did talk about us promoting ourselves, but there's still this thing.
Yeah.
We are innately just like, hey, I want this book to speak for itself,
right.
and I put my heart into it, and then. My husband and my mentors were like, put the slide in and tell people.
Yes.
So yes, I have a book coming out.
That's awesome. Tell everybody the title of the book.
Yeah, it's brand storytelling, putting your customer at the heart of your story, of your brand story.
That's awesome.
And it's all about heart. It's all about how we tell stories from the heart in the digital age.
Absolutely. So. I love that. I think so many, I listening to both of your talks, I was like, I know who you listen to, probably read a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, because we all have influences.
Sure,
right?
100%.
And I was like, there's a little Maya Angelou, and there's a little Brene Brown,
100%.
and there's a little,
Brown oh my gosh, she really, everything about her, I like immersed. I'm like a little protege.
Absolutely. That
100%.
Daring Greatly book changed my life in a big way.
Yes, and being vulnerable, the art of vulnerability, the science behind it, it has spoken to me. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to be empathetic.
Yeah.
We want to be leaders and be out there. That to us means not, to be sheltered and not to show that vulnerability, and it's quite the contrary. It really is.
Yeah, I really, so I want to go, so we kind of jumped in because we're excited, and I was excited, but let's talk a little bit about your role at Microsoft and where that came about, because I was like, that's a cool title. How does one get that? That's awesome. Yeah.
So storytellers at Microsoft, there's actually, I know it's going to be surprising, but there's 400 of us in Redmond.
What?
4,000 worldwide. And there's a whole lot of us out there, and there's a lot of women in the role. They don't talk about it. I'm like, come on, girls, let's talk about what we're doing.
Sure.
So I got brought in to do core services engineering, which is what used to be Microsoft IT.
Oh, right.
It used to be called Microsoft IT.
Yes.
So it's actually now, they added operations. So it's core services engineering and operations, all under Kurt Delbeni, our CDO.
I love him.
And he's great. He was the one who thought about, hey, let's talk about what's happening inside Microsoft. Let's be a little bit vulnerable.
Yep.
Let's talk about our challenges as we get into digital and cloud computing and the things that our engineerings are going through. So he really thought about this idea. And at the same time, this is all when Satya was also talking about driving empathy, culture activation with empathy. We brought in a chief storyteller, Steve Clayton, who is from the UK. So all these things kind of started happening at the same time, where we decided, hey, the way we want to be at Microsoft from the inside out is really to talk about our stories, to expose what's happening. We definitely were not open source by any means, right? So not on the cloud and not anywhere else.
And not in our hearts.
Not in our hearts. So, and that was really just kind of, it kicked that off. So yeah, I was asked to come and do this work, and it was just extremely challenging, to say the least. At least I'm definitely not an engineer. I had to learn the language, which really stretched me. And actually, I fell in love with engineering. I'm going to start coding. That's my 2020 thing. I know, just fun. Hey, listen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the work really was around that. Three of us were given two of the functional areas at Microsoft. I was doing data and AI and security, so actually 2.5. And I had to start talking to them. And of course, if you know anything about engineers, they don't really like to talk much.
No, they don't. Yeah, I have a developer engineer on my team, and he's all like, "Do I have to get on that call?" And I'm like, "Please,
No, the product speaks for itself.
Absolutely,
right?
yes, always. Right.
So it was kind of like a creative journalism idea where we had to dig stories. We had to translate these really complex coded messages of what they're doing, make them human, not only for our IT pros, because there is space still. They love white papers, they love the case studies, the how-tos, of course. There's space for that, but really also expanding our audience to say, hey, this is what they're doing, this is the challenges they're going through. The best thing for me personally was to see them evolve in that space. We started with, like, there was actually, I have this one story, this one engineer was like, look, just give me one story. All I need is just one, please. And I would I would beg him for 3 months. That was a long time.
Yeah. It's 3
months on Microsoft is like 3 years
in
time zone.
Yeah. Right.
And finally he gave me this story, and it was so good, and we had worked on it for so long that we actually turned it into a 6-part series. He kept going. He's like, I have more to say. I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
He got a taste of it. He was like, I want the whole bowl.
Yeah. He started, we the last one, the last story we did actually, we called it I think it was the cartography to the cloud or something. Wow. So he actually dressed up as a cartographer, and he had maps. No. Oh my gosh, and I was all over that. I was like, let's get pictures in. It was really cool to see.
That is neat.
It really is. It's so amazing to really watch people once you kind of cross that threshold. People, that trust is in, and you understand the why of telling stories.
Absolutely.
Then people open up, and it's really nice.
Yeah, get a little Simon Sinek in there.
Yeah,
too, right?
that's right.
I know. It's interesting because I work with people on brand and personal development, and that was a lot of what I did with Kiruana here, and I think there is this wonderful. Storytelling's been with us forever. Since cave drawings and all of that.
Yes.
But I think there is a movement towards sharing and this vulnerability and vulnerability. I think you were talking about this, that it doesn't have to be every personal little thing about you.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
You don't have to spill your guts,
No.
if you will. And that vulnerability can just be talking honestly about a situation, right? And I think with the engineering, that's got to be so exciting because it's like you get frustrated and you can't. A lot of engineering is problem solving.
It is,
right?
and a lot of creativity as well. Like I had honestly, I can't believe I didn't know this, but coming into this space, I was like, wow, they are so creative. Their mind works, and they see every color, they see every space, every opportunity. Talking to engineers in the UX space as well, I got a chance to interview one of them, and I asked him, I was like, how does your brain work? I'd love to know that. I put that in my book. I talked about him, and he was like, look, it's terrible. It's a bad thing because you're sitting right now, and I'm looking at that chair, and I'm like, how can I improve that chair? What is the best way to make that better? Yeah. It's continuous. They don't. Their minds never rest, and it's just, I'm in awe of it. It's amazing.
That's super cool. Yeah, and I think I agree with you. And I did event production for years. I was telling you at Microsoft, and so it's that way too. I'm like, you look at a room and you're like, well, how do I rebuild that chair, but where do I put that chair so it's both aesthetically pleasing, people can move through the room in a great way, functional, all of that stuff. And I feel like I was a theater major, and so to me...
Of course you were.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, we're getting to know each other, right?
Yeah, we are.
I'm going to interview you, too. Let's interview each other. I'm so excited. There's like layers.
I know, totally. We're like,
right,
let's build this up. Let's build this Maui onion. It's a Maui onion, by the way. And for me, it was back 18 years ago. It was the first time that I had felt that this artist passion in a workplace.
Imagine that.
And so I agree with you with the engineering and just how creative it really is to work in tech.
It really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is. And then it's funny. So I got asked to now join HR of all places to lead the global internship program. And
that's right.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And so it was really kind of like the next step to storytelling, which I would have never imagined. When they called me, I was like, what? Really? And the reason for that, exactly what you're saying, is thinking about it, just like that creativity. When you unlock that, right, it just takes it further and further into culture activation, to how we develop ourselves as humans, how we are able. You talked about vulnerability, and we don't have to spill our guts, but we get to choose the stories that are poignant and that do inspire and impact others. And these are stories that I tell stories about. Everything happens to me. I have everything. I'm an embarrassment thing. It's like I'm clumsy, I fall, everything happens to me.
You're Newman, it's cool, right?
So I'm like, and then I take those one, I'm like, this is a story. I'm gonna go tell. Those are the stories. People think that the stories have to be remarkable and extraordinary. Right. No, they don't. They actually, is that my alarm going off? That's my alarm.
She's awake.
Okay, we're back in. Yeah, so I was saying, you know, when you think about the vulnerability and the stories that happen, when things happen, those are the moments that you get to share and really inspire others, because then again, we're human.
Yeah.
And so bringing that to now our interns, global class, we have around 6,000 interns in Microsoft every year.
Yep.
And we're really bringing, you know, just different cultures, different experiences, and we're giving them platforms. We have a radio show where they can come in and share their stories and be vulnerable, and we actually bring leaders from Microsoft and they get to be vulnerable. So like, you know, because they come in, they kind of idolize a little bit these amazing creatures, of course. I do. So it's kind of nice to kind of just bring it down and be like, hey, you fell too. Hey, this happened. You got stuck in the elevator too. You know, these things happen.
Yeah,
so.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So I was talking about being a theater major. Let's talk about your background and your origin story. And so how you got into IT?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I got into IT. So actually, I wanted to be a pilot. I did, and I was in high school, so I was in ESL, which was English for speaking other languages, and so I didn't get a chance to do much of it because when you're in ESL, you can't take electives. That was my freshman year, but my biology teacher, he said, look, I think you can do this, so he changed my major completely, my whole thing, not my major, my high school program, and put me right into JROTC, Air Force. So I got in because of him, and it was just those life-changing moments. I did 3.5 years. I became the first female corps commander of my school.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Well,
that's so cool.
It wasn't full on because I was high school and then I was moving to college. And
but you know,
it is part of it. It is.
Yeah,
It's really amazing. I did all of it. It was really exciting. But for some circumstances, I wasn't able to get all the way through. So I actually just went to a local school and ended up in communications. So I was like, since I can't do this, what can I do?
Yeah.
And communications was the thing. And at the time, there was not much there, right? You could take communications so broad. It was like, you can go into journalism, you could do corporate comms, social media didn't exist. Storytelling was not a thing. So it wasn't that exciting. And now you look back and you're like, man, that was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah,
those are those moments in life when it's just serendipity, right? Yep. And so, I took communication. I was a communications major, went with that and got married really young. So I was going to school and at the same time finishing on university and working full time and all that stuff. My sister went right into Motorola. So at the time, so we're in Florida. And Motorola was all up in like the mobile devices. We had just came out with the Razr. The hot pink Razr was the thing. Can I just say?
Sure.
I wish I would have kept mine. It's so good. Love those flip phones.
Anyone have a Razr?
So my sister's like, you gotta come to Motorola. And I was like, no, I don't want to get into tech. I'm like, I'm a comms person. What am I gonna go do in tech, right? She goes, you gotta come. So she finally brought me in, and I ended up in Motorola, and that's how I started. And I loved tech. That was that surprise factor of like, wow, there's so much happening. It is the final frontier for our humankind. And so I loved what was happening. Everything was innovation and new things coming out. So got into that, and then eventually Microsoft called me. So they really recruited me.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they called me one day, like boom. I was like, oh, it's Microsoft. Okay, yeah, I'll go.
That's fantastic.
So I started in Microsoft 7 years ago.
7 years.
Yeah. And so I started in operations in Latin America. I was there for less than a year, and then moved right into social media, which that was when it was all coming out. I led 3 channels on social media, global channels for English, Spanish, and Portuguese. At the time of window.
I know your name. We just haven't met.
That's true. We've been
around each other for a while, and I was so excited to hear her coming. I was like, I get to meet her.
So excited. And now we're inseparable. Now it's just like
trouble.
That's it. This is it.
Best kind.
Be prepared.
So what's next for you?
Oh my gosh. I have to say, so the book is coming out. And I have this mentor who's always like, what's next for you? What's next for you? The next 2 years. And I was like, dude, I don't even know what I'm wearing tomorrow. Right? It's like, I can't.
I need a minute.
Please. Everything's just happening so fast. What's next is, I think, is just seeing where everything unfolds. I think what's happened up until now, it's opportunities that Microsoft as a platform has given me, which I am so thankful. My own life story. So I'm originally from Venezuela. I'm an immigrant. And, we had nothing when we came here. We really built our way up. And it's just been so incredible. I'm kind of soaking in the moment. And then what happens with that, I think it's this idea that whatever comes next with the book and with our interns, I think our interns are definitely the future. Of course they are. Yeah. And that means so much to me, being able to, going from product to impacting people, right? They are our product. I don't want to make it sound like that, but it's true. What we influence on them, what we give them an impact, that's how they're going to go do. Yep. So I think what's next is watching things happen and being ready for them, being ready for any other opportunity coming up. I'm at Microsoft. I love Microsoft. I really love Microsoft, and I love what it's doing. I give this keynote about empathy, and it's always a tough crowd, I have to say.
Yes.
The reason for that, there's a lot of skepticism about Microsoft because of what it's been, and I get that. We've been there, but I have to honestly, I stand here telling you, I've been there this long to say I've seen the transformation happen from the inside out. I was one of the first ones to be like, this is not for me. Microsoft is not what I envision in my head. Yeah. I've seen it change, and I've seen it, and I'm part of that change. Yeah. So what's next is watching this continue to unfold in this amazing part of being digital, being mobile, being transformative, impactful, and being human. Yeah. Being human.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the story that you shared about. I loved it that you shared it. I didn't love the story because it's something that it was about. You dealing with some people that were really nasty.
Yes.
And But I really, again, in the vulnerability part of it, I appreciate that you shared that, because I think that with, like, say, diversity and inclusion sometimes, and that it's now become this big salad bowl for a lot of stuff. Yeah. And if it's not tech, it's diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, you're right.
And not everything is, and so, but that story was in a way, but it also was part of sort of the development of your career, right? Is. And we talk a lot about I got the job and or this and that and that, but then you don't see, it's kind of like social media.
What happens
you see the smiling faces and then the food and all of that stuff, but you don't see the moments when you're just like, oh my gosh, this day stinks.
Yeah.
And so sharing that story, I myself have had some of those things happen, and within, different places where you get let go of a place, or you're dealing with, your personality, you're a go-getter and you're direct and all of that. And I think that's, I as well, sometimes that's not everybody's cup of tea.
You're right.
And so dealing with and talking about those stories, I think is important, because everybody out there has that in their lives. We all have that,
and I'm sorry I'm getting teary-eyed.
Okay?
It's just because you brought me back to the moment I wasn't prepared. I was like, when you give it as a keynote, you prepare mentally, but you brought it up, I was like, okay, it's here.
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, because
mascara.
sometimes in the cold you get a leaky eye.
I know.
But I was like, no, she's tearing up. I was like, okay.
No, it's not sniffles. It's not the cold. No, honestly, so. Yeah. So the story I shared was me coming in at Microsoft at first, and I think what the shocking part was, I always want women to support women. I need that.
Yes.
We need that. It is a space where it's scary, it's ugly at times. We are the minority by all means. Yep. And you always have this imposter syndrome. Do I belong here? I really don't. I'm not techie. I'm comms. And all of that is always in the background. So I came in and I was really excited to find a community. And when it was quite the opposite, I was so shocked, and I was just alone. Yeah. I was so alone, and I was like, why do we do this to each other? Why do we do this? Do you imagine what the world would look like if women really supported one another? And not just support by just saying it, but giving each other the platform. What you're doing here right now, allowing me to speak, allowing me to share this with people. And so it was really painful for me to be like, wow, I'm alone. It was a realization. I was like, oh, wow, okay. I'm going to go fend for myself. And not only fend for myself, now I have to compete, which I hate. Yeah. Because we shouldn't have to. We each bring so much, and when we blend it, it's even more powerful. So that was a catalyst to me being who I am today. It became my source of like, okay, that's my fire. I'm going to go take that. Instead of being angry and, turning it back another way, I'm going to turn this for good. And now I mentor so many young women, and I do it with the authority that I've been through something like that. And they probably will, and I can't change the world that way, but I can show them, hey, you're not alone. Yeah. Because I was alone, and I had to deal with it alone. So, but they're not. Now they have a mentor. And I'm tough on them. I have to be honest. I am. I am because because they have to be tough, right?
Yeah.
And I'm empathetic toward them. I have to
Yeah.
remind myself to be empathetic. But I do tell them, it's like, hey, it's not easy. We are the Rosa Parks of the digital age. We're sitting on that bus.
Yeah.
And if we get off, we are never going to make the strides that we want to in this world.
Absolutely. You know, we have a very similar story that I want to. At some point, let's dive in with each other and talk about it.
I'm sure
and
people want to hear it now.
Yeah, well, and I've shared this story
Okay.
in different places and written about it and stuff. And for me, it was ending up leaving Microsoft and
well, I almost left.
No, and resetting and coming back fairly immediately.
Okay.
You know, honestly,
Interesting.
but coming back in a vendor role and yeah, and so yeah, but it was a big cluster.
Yeah,
you know,
you can fill in the blanks on that one.
And
Oh
it was
my
because
gosh.
of tangling with a woman, and I don't even know if it was tangling. It was that there was that sometimes people get jealous, you know, and
the question is why.
yeah, absolutely.
The question is why.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna be real talk. I've discovered in like because I asked that question, why do we do this? And I realized, you know, that our primal instinct as women, we do protect. We are nurturers, so we have this in primal response to, hey, this is my castle, this is my kids, this is my husband, this is my partner, this is my dog, this is us, and we are keepers. We are keepers, and that is ours. But we kind of need to divorce that in the workplace. This, you know, we actually. The castle's bigger.
Yes.
There's a lot more things.
It's a kingdom.
It's a kingdom.
Or a queendom.
A queendom.
Let's be clear.
It's a queendom. Hashtag
Kingdom, queendom.
Yeah,
both,
and there's,
but
you know, it's not a Game of Thrones. We're all playing the same game. We're all on the same team. There's lots of queens and princesses happening, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I think we need to, you know, sometimes we. Man, I mentioned I have 6 mentors. They're all men. I wish I would love to see more women mentor, and I do. I mentor a lot of young women for that same reason. But if we put ourselves out there more and more, and be willing to share the platform more than just support, share.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's much different.
Yeah, and be happy that. I'm like, I love that you're putting out a book. I've been writing a book for a while. It's not out yet, and I was like, and so like part of me was like,
She put out a book.
And then I was like, and then I'm like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And,
okay, so we're gonna talk to Kogan Page right now. It's gonna be done, and you and I after this.
Fair enough.
Done.
Yes, and
That's the publisher.
this year it's happening.
It's happening.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
and I'm gonna push you.
Okay.
All right, done.
I think that's it's
Take on
a
it.
check accountability partnership.
That's it, happening right here.
We're doing it.
Do
so
it.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, thank you for that. And
What's your book about?
The book is about personal development and what sparks us and how we
Love
move along in the world.
that.
I do a lot about career development. I created this thing called the Maven Principle because my business is called Creative Maven.
I saw that.
And I really like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
And so I expanded on Maslow, but
Ooh,
not.
that's what we do.
Yeah,
That's what
right,
everybody
you
does.
take it.
Yeah,
and
take
so putting the term soft skills
Yes.
kind of bugs me.
Okay.
So I call them power skills.
I love that.
And so taking those soft skills and turning them into power skills and mapping them into the hierarchy for what we can do for ourselves, both in our work and life and everything.
Yes.
To try to get to that self-actualization, authentic self that we all want to get to. So
now, Maslow's pyramid of needs does talk about the feelings we get when you either go down on that pyramid,
right,
or have not achieved.
We move
up and
Yeah,
down.
it's not
and
just
it's not linear
Yes,
at all,
right,
right? I mean, the pyramid is linear.
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
not.
yeah. Right.
And so do you talk in that book, or have you delved into what happens when you go down?
Yeah, absolutely.
tell
I mean,
me.
well, and I think it's that funny that quote about, you know, when I get given a lemon, I can either, you know, decide to have it be sour, or I can decide to have it like make lemonade martinis or whatever. Margaritas or whatever. Right? So yeah, and that, you know, that failure isn't a setback. Failure is just something that needed a tweak. And so it's reframing or flipping the script. I love those two phrases.
Yeah,
and
is nice.
How do you take something and go, wait a minute, let me look at this in a different way.
Yeah.
And know that, you know what, maybe I needed to go back a little bit or step down into a different place so that I can expand as I rise.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
So yeah, and so just looking at things in a different way.
I love it. It's like failure doesn't make you failing doesn't make you a failure. It makes you a doer.
Yeah.
Right. You just continue. You keep going.
Absolutely. And I loved the point about your keynote about empathy. I think, you know, empathy to me is what we do in the theater. You know, if you're
so
right.
True.
So I mean, I think I got a degree in that. You know. Because
I hadn't thought about that way.
Yeah.
That's so
I had a teacher tell me that at one point, and she was like, if you're showing somebody a life, a story, a thing, and what happens is that the people in the audience, you have to have an audience, right? They will embody.
They will encompass it.
The folks
What's
that are on
happening to the
stage,
characters.
and you make them walk in the same shoes,
Exactly.
right? So like, and having that, and what you were saying about empathy, and what you've put to it, which is something I love, is that there's empathy, and then there's action.
Yes.
And those are the two things we have to put together.
That's it. That's it.
And so human nature is empathetic, and I think our warrior spirit is the action.
I love that so much.
And I was like, I was watching your stuff the whole time, and I was just like, right on.
Check.
I was like, right on. She has got it. And you put such a beautiful spin on it with your own personal experience.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's just super cool to watch. So you need to follow her.
Oh,
Get the book. You know.
The book talks about that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when I was in London when the commissioning editor came up to me, and I literally was like, no, I'm not doing this right now. I don't have no time. No, I did. I turned him down. I was like, I can't. Stuff was happening with my mom. There was a lot going on. I was like, this is not the time for me. I'm like, and a business book. Like if I was gonna write a book, it'd be like a memoir or like a romantic novel. Like a business book. And so she pressed, and I admired her audacity and her persistence. And so I was like, you know what? And she actually said, I will write the book proposal for you if you need me to. Wow. She was that adamant. Yeah. So I was like, she really believes in me. And that's the thing, when someone really does, that she did. And I was like, wow, you really want me to? She goes, you can do this. And I was like, okay. So I wrote about it, and not knowing really what I was getting myself into. But as I expanded on the ideas of empathy, because I started the story, doing my storytelling with empathy, with design thinking, and the first step is empathy, I realized there was so much to be done in that space first. Yeah, right. Like you said, in theater, in storytelling, because theater is storytelling, anything that connects us. Right. Really, the way it's going to connect us is through that empathy thread. Absolutely. And studying that for me, doing like the self-realization, man, it was a great personal transformation. I can tell you I'm another person because of the book. Yeah. I'm another person because I had to write the stuff and go, wow. It's a self-reflection. So it's a lot about vulnerability and empathy there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we teach what we need to learn a lot of the time too, right?
So good. Right? Yes.
So like,
we're just talking to ourselves.
Yeah, kind of. You're like building a presentation. You're like, I need to do a presentation about XYZ, and then you're like, bah! And then you're in the middle of it, and you're figuring it out, and then like you're on stage at some point, and you're like, oh. Dang,
I'm talking
this
to myself.
is for me.
Preaching to me.
But that's the universal thread of our experience, right?
It really is. And it keeps us human. Yeah. It keeps us human. I'm excited. I'm taking a little bit of that to Paris. I'm actually delving deeper into the empathy piece. So we're talking about modern workplace, and I'm talking about the modern workplace person. Modern workplace worker. Right. And the evolution of how coming from like a farm to a factory in the 1920s, and like the evolution of the workplace has also opened up the evolution of our heart as humans. Yeah. And so today we sit, we talk digitally to people. Right. We share stories. We wouldn't have been in the 1920s. We wouldn't have met each other. Right. I know. Right. It's like, come on. Yeah. So it's so great that the evolution has also allowed that platform, and how we get to leverage that platform to do what we're doing. Cool. Awesome. Yeah.
I'm going to throw in a question I always ask in my podcast. Okay. And it's all about, it's called Mavens Do It Better, and it's like, what sparks you? Sure. So if you could say one thing that sparks you, that has you sit right here, can you share that with everybody?
Yeah, it's legacy. It's immortality through legacy. It sparks me because I know that I may not get tomorrow. I know that I can just leave, we get hit by a train right now. I probably won't, but no. but it's just time it's not given to you. It's a gift. And then so I really am so interested in knowing where I came from. I would have never, Heather, imagined I would be here today. Never in my life, being from Venezuela, your day-to-day is survival. Yeah. It's like, what will I eat?
La familia survival,
that's
baby.
It.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
That's it. Yeah. And so being here is like, wow, I've gotten here by all means with the help of many friends, and a lot of luck and a lot of God factor for me. I believe in that. Yeah. But also the hard work, and so the legacy, what do I leave beyond that? My children, their children, the people that I impact, and how do I impact them? The people that are listening to this right now, it's incredible that we have this opportunity to even do this, that you're watching. So for me, it sparks me. I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, this might be my last day. It might be, and so what will I do with my 24 hours? And then tomorrow's the same thing. What will I do with my 24 hours? And so it's just, time. I'm reading the last thing on Time magazine about memory. I don't know if you picked up that. I'll give you the copy.
Okay.
It's so good.
Okay, cool.
It's all about how the brain connects memories. Ooh. Like, it's really it's the neuroscience of memory. It's incredible. And so it actually. It's exactly what I had always said, but didn't understand it from a scientific perspective. I always say that time is life, right? Yep. So the moments that we create, that's all you remember, and that ends up being your life.
Right.
And that's exactly what they're saying. It's in your brain when you create these core memories. That is your life to you, whatever you've created. So we have the chance to build those moments. Yep. So what are the moments that we're building every day? That sparks me. The moments. Are we building moments? What are the things that we are? It's like, I can get up today and get into a fight with somebody, or I can get up today and be kind to someone. And I can do both.
Choice.
I can do both. And so that moment will never come back. Yep. And however I spent that minute will never come back. Yeah. And so did I spend it fighting? That I spend it arguing with someone.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Right? That's it.
Well, I am thankful for this moment with you. This was wonderful. It's so great to dive a little deeper with you.
I'm so excited for your book. I hope that I can offer some tips. I will definitely be talking to Coke and Paige. They need to hear from you.
Thank you.
Let's get that proposal together. If you have it ready, let's get it done.
Okay.
And I can't wait. We need to do this more. We need to sit down and have more coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Absolutely. So everybody, Miri Rodriguez.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. And so SPC19, and I think this is probably going to be like not the last thing I do, because we'll post a few more things.
It's just like the last thing before I die.
No. The last sort of an interview like that's coming out. So anyway, so thank you everybody.
Thanks for listening.
And we're out from Prague. Bye.
I love you so much. You are one of my guys. Oh my God.
I was like, all right, let's
great.
just handle that.
Just go do. That's what we do. That's amazing. You're the best. I love it.
Boom.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
We're
it.
like, we need to turn that down.
And let's just do that. This is great.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll give us a second to make the cut, although we'll probably put that at the end.
Probably.
For sure.
You just hack something, because that's what we do. That's what we do. We're hackers that way.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. Check.
1 2 1 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's hilarious. I would have been late to this.
Yeah, right. Okay.
The alarm is wrong.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a pause.
Yes.
Good. And then we'll get back into it. Yeah.
Back in.
Yeah.
Bloopers.